Well, the government's proposed online surveillance bill, now at committee, ignited an explosion of controversy. Remember when it was first introduced earlier in the year? Many Canadians worried that their privacy rights were being eroded. The government maintained it was just giving police better tools to catch online child predators and dangerous criminals. Remember that sort of infamous line now from Vic Toews, "You're with us or the child pornographers." But then when Luka Magnotta was accused of killing and dismembering the Chinese student and mailing his body parts out to various places, the Public Safety Minister, Vic Toews, suggested the bill might have been helpful in that case as well. Now, he did decline to go into detail, but Power and Politics has now obtained documents under the Access to Information Act that were prepared by senior public safety officials to brief the minister. And they linked the case of Magnotta with the contentious bill. Let's take a look at what these documents tell us. Under the query, could C-30, that's the internet surveillance bill, help catch suspected killers like Magnotta? The documents outline points to justify the online surveillance bill, saying, well, they can't comment directly on the Magnotta case. In similar cases, that says it would give authorities quicker, more reliable access to electronic information that can help catch criminals faster. And it says it's especially useful in cases where the suspect intends to flee or seriously harm another individual. It would require telecommunication service providers to provide basic subscriber information, such as the IP address, that could help reveal the identity of someone who posts a video or social comment online, which, of course, you'll remember Magnotta is accused of posting video depicting the murder and dismemberment of his victim. It would also allow, the documents say, police to immediately request the suspect's TSP to preserve the suspect's computer data for up to 21 days, and it says it would give authorities time to obtain a warrant to access potentially useful electronic evidence. And also it goes on to say it would provide a single warrant application process for multiple investigative techniques, such as tracking related to a single investigation. And it says in cases where speed is critical, a single judge can get that warrant quicker and maintain the highest standard of judicial scrutiny. So the link has been made there, the government prepping to use the gruesome Magnotta case essentially to sell its own unpopular legislation, or was it? Could the online surveillance bill really help solve the case like this? Let's get a reality check. Joining me now is Michael Geist, the Canada Research Chair in Internet and E-commerce Law at the University of Ottawa, who also showed up, of course, in these ATIP documents. Good to see you, Michael. You've seen these documents, and clearly the government is preparing to answer, could Bill C-30 have helped locate alleged killer Luka Magnotta? Earlier, they say they can't comment on the specifics of the case, but those are the reasons they say. What do you make of their reasons?
Well, I mean, I think there's two separate issues. One is the claims that Vic Toews made during these events, where he claimed that it would have made a difference in that particular case. And I think the government's even stepping back a little bit from that, saying it's cases like the Magnotta case. I don't think there's no reason at all, frankly, to believe that anything within C-30 would have made a difference in that particular case. In terms of the changes in cases like Magnotta, and let's hope we don't get any cases like Magnotta, but the sense that somehow this improves the ability for police to use the electronic environment, frankly, there isn't a whole lot that's convincing within what the government has said. Indeed, a lot of it is stuff that already exists within the law. And the notion that there is serious barriers within the current law is one where the government has still failed to provide real evidence.
Well, they say it will give authorities quicker, more reliable access to electronic information to help catch criminals faster.
Right. I mean, well, that's just the bumper sticker line in terms of what they're saying it generally will do. When you look at the rest of the lines they've provided, that's where they try to focus on specific provisions. So, for example, they talk specifically about getting basic subscriber information. And it's true that telecom service providers, internet providers, and telecom companies would be mandated, required to provide basic subscriber information under Bill C-30. But what's important to recognize is that they're already providing that information, according to RCMP data, about 94% of the time. And that in cases like these, emergent cases, there is practically not a single TSP or ISP in Canada that isn't providing that information. In fact, even within C-30, it didn't actually include a timeline in terms of how quickly that information ought to be provided. That's something that's left to the regulations. And so C-30 itself didn't even say you've got to do this within 30 minutes or even
well,
30
they say the bill would allow them to immediately request the suspect's telecommunications service providers to preserve the suspect's computer data for up to 21 days.
Well, that's something separate. So first they're saying that they can mandate the disclosure of basic subscriber information, which is true, but it's not clear whether that's going to be in 30 minutes or in a couple of days. They can also request TSP to preserve it. They need a warrant in order to be able to do that. That's a preservation order that they're seeking. And so the preservation order, it's true, is something that's envisioned within C-30. There's nothing to stop them from seeking similar kinds of warrant information today.
But seeking a warrant, this is where they also say it would benefit, because they argue in these notes that we've obtained that Bill C-30 would provide a single warrant application for multiple investigative techniques, but also a faster warrant. They could obtain the warrant faster.
There isn't a lot in the bill that actually says it's going to be a lot faster. I mean, there are specific kinds of warrants that may apply in these kinds of situations. But the reality is we've seen electronic-based investigations now for many, many years. The Toronto 18, indeed the Magnotta case is another example where they are using electronic-based materials. And there really hasn't been any strong evidence put forward that the current system is somehow insufficient.
And again, they say speed is critical. A single judge can get all the warrants for multiple investigations. They say that might be the expediting factor there. Your view?
That's not a core part of what the legislation's been talking about at all. It's true there are several kinds of warrants that it envisions adding, and so when you layer them on, you can now say, I would like a preservation warrant, I'd like a transmission warrant. These are the new kinds of warrants brought into the bill. But that's a little bit semantics here.
So basically, you don't buy it. You don't think, essentially, Bill C-30 would not have helped locate alleged killer Luka Magnotta or those like him quicker or earlier?
Well, in the Luka Magnotta case, there were people notifying the police about things they had already seen on the internet, and the police themselves were rather slow to respond. This feels like an attempt to try to backtrack, in a sense, and respond to Vic Toews' somewhat opportunistic remark that somehow this would have made a difference.
Michael Geist, I appreciate your perspective on that. Thanks.
Well, thanks for having me.